Well, I am also an EDD student, and I'm also from a cohort-based program, and so I feel really at home today talking with you. I'm just wondering, does anybody in the group have experience with national issue forums? Have you done that in your own communities? All right, so this will be a little old hat for you, I apologize, but I want to share just a couple of things with you today. With any good program in education, we have the whole notion of theory and practice. And I think those of you that are educators in the room, which is everybody here, the way of combining theory and practice, especially in graduate studies, is significant for your work. So I have gone about the process of giving you a couple of handouts that actually mix theory and practice. The first handout is Chapter 6, Reinventing Teacher Education. The practice part of this is for us to have a discussion on what is the 21st century mission for our public schools. I was driving in this morning, listening to NPR, and Claudio comes on. You know Claudio Sanchez. Everybody listens to Claudio. All right. And so Claudio talks about a school in Atlanta, Georgia, and this is a school that was actually invited to sing at the presidential inauguration last year. And this public high school is in crisis mode, and it's being reorganized. All the teachers have been let go. They're all being rehired upon application. But the notion of this is what you all know. The students in this school are not meeting their basic skills levels. And because they're not meeting the basic skill levels according to standardized tests, which are the most meaningful thing that we do in education in this country, because of that, this particular group of faculty who have in fact made great strides from like the 46th percentile to the 68th percentile, all losing their jobs and coming away. And the purpose of the discussion that we're going to have today is to move beyond the debate around public school and minimum standards, move beyond basic skills, because we're all kind of saddled with that as educators. I was an elementary high school educator for 5 years, so I know about, in this world, Ohio graduation tests, OGTs, and all that. But the idea is to move beyond this, and once we would have basic skills settled, what really is the purpose of public education in this country? What are we trying to do besides get kids to pass tests? So our conversation today will be around that topic. The first slide, if you want to follow along with me, talks about what is deliberative dialogue. It is a form of discussion. And that's what we're going to do in a few minutes. We're going to practice this as a trial run. It's more about thinking than talking. It emphasizes a common purpose. It creates public politics and public work so that we don't think about politics being those technicians, those political technicians that we see on TV all the time. But we think about public work being the work that we all do because we are citizens of this country. And we all have values that contribute to what happens in our communities. It is more than a model for group dynamics, although sometimes people use it in that way. It really, if done well, creates a shared direction for public choice. So as we go through this activity for the next 35 minutes or so, put on the hat that says, I'm just a public citizen. Although you're all educators, although maybe you are administrators in schools, put on the hat that says, I'm a citizen in this community, in this room today, and I have some comments and some important things to say about the purpose of public education. The notion of having citizens involved in what goes on in their schools and their communities and their state and their country is critical. It wasn't just, the founders that decided that we needed to educate people to be good citizens. Although certainly when you look at the early history of our country, that's what was put together. The notion of the, 1/16 of the area set aside for the public school, because the idea was, and it's still a good idea today, that in order to have good citizens, you have to educate people to be good citizens. And so that's a part of what this conversation is. It's important to our schools. It's important for practical reasons, like getting buy-in from parents and, important people in the community, business and industries. It's important for our communities to have a shared sense of purpose, to have community values reflected in what goes on in our public schools. And it's important in higher education because we also, in higher ed, are charged with the task of creating citizens. How does higher ed do that? They've developed a number of strategies. First of all, they do it through the curriculum. So I have a young woman that I know. She's transferring to a school in Illinois, and right away she has to take, state civics so that she knows all of the history and the civics that happens in the state of Illinois. We don't do that in Ohio. Maybe other states where you live have a similar citizenship test so that you have the history and the government of the state. So oftentimes higher education gets at the civic engagement task through the curriculum. Other examples, they do student government association, leadership development for young people, service learning or campus compact. Is anybody involved with service learning experiences, right? So, okay, and a weary face for service learning. But that's also the notion that if students give back to the community, then that will perpetuate and they will continue to be good citizens, that they have that experience, so there's an experiential piece. And then there's the whole notion of really encouraging students to do political action, to be involved in congressional races and that kind of thing. So higher ed, struggling with what to do with civic education, has tried a lot of different methods. What we're going to look at today is how deliberation might work as a method. The goal is to make a choice among competing approaches to a public problem. Sometimes public problems are called wicked problems because they are so very difficult to address and to solve. As we go through our conversation, we'll try to look at the pros and cons of each choice that's before us. We should share what we hold valuable and what we think other people might hold valuable. Everybody can participate who wants to. I'm going to try to make sure that not one person dominates. I will try to keep us on task, and we will try to look at every one of the three options before us equally, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we will spend equal time on each one. We want to maintain an atmosphere for discussion, and we want to listen to each other.